till that a tip you from what's room and Jesus stole. I got my teeter one up and teeter running like I never before. If the speed is a given, all right, go down, see a car inside. 16 on the road, see the road and make it no need.
Hey, Dan.
Like a punch, she's a kiss, my baby goodbye.
Hello, Peter.
Hello, Brian. How are you? How are you? How the hell are you doing?
Not so bad.
Hey?
Not so bad.
You're not going to... I heard you were in the hospital.
I was, Peter, for 3-4
Are
weeks.
you feeling all right again?
My name is Brian Coll, and I'm from Omagh, and I'm a singer by trade, if you like, for the last, getting on to 20 years now. It's been good to me, the band business, and the thing that keeps me in it there is because I like singing, first and foremost, and I like meeting people, and that's my main interest.
Johnny was an old friend of mine, you know.
Oh, aye.
You know, and so was your father.
Yeah, that's
Your
right.
father, both of them was joiners.
That's right.
That's right. Well, you're looking well anyway.
I started off in the Polka Dots band back in 1960, and stayed there for about a year. I left it for a short time, joined another band called the Platters, who were a very professional band at the time. Were doing a lot more work, but a lot less mileage. The music scene kept changing. In the rural parts of the country, you had what I like to call country and western music. Country music is called nowadays. And it was becoming very popular. And of course, I had a natural liking for it. So I opted out and formed my own band called the Buckaroos. And we've had a lot of success since then. Well, a working relationship in a band is vital, really, because without it, you see, it's hurdles all the time. And it never ends, you know, there's jumps and they get higher. But if you've got this basic thing, you're flying, there's really nothing that you can't achieve in the business. Because if they're all pulling together, it's like a tug-of-war team. If just one lies down or is not pulling his weight, well, the team's in trouble.
I want to run over these tunes quick, boys. I've got to go to Belfast. The time last chance of happiness. Run over that again because it's not right at all.
Go ahead.
Last chance.
If you're always looking for the combination of fellas with a nice, even personality that can cope and a fair amount of musical ability. And this is what you're searching, looking for all the time. I don't think any band has it. Some bands that are very successful today, in fact, I know are not getting on too well, but because they're doing so well financially, they can bear with it, you know. But in the end, it'll break. If you've got the other, you're home and dry, you know.
You're my last chance for happiness. You're my last chance for happiness.
Oh. Near enough. Not the part. From the top again.
The boys that I'm with at the minute are a good lot. I've got a very, very tight band, which is really needed, I suppose, in any type of music. More so in a country band, funny enough, is a guy that can keep a steady beat from the band, kicks off until the band finishes, because the name of the game is dancing.
You're the only thing that stands between me and loneliness. You're the only reason now that I exist. You're my last chance for happiness. You're my last chance for happiness.
Funny, over the years, the trends have come and went. When I started, of course, the rock and roll thing was very big. But country was there, and the rock and roll thing faded a bit, and then you had the jazz band, and they sort of faded away. Then you had the flower period, the Stones, the Beatles, and all the time country was getting a knock. The Beatles very nearly done it, had it for 6. And it still seemed to come up like the Drowning Man for the 3rd time. It just keeps bobbing up. Like the cork and water, it's up there all the time, trying.
11:45 is the kickoff. As far as I know.
Clean patch.
Huh?
Clean patch.
Clean pitch, yes. Well, here are those 2 numbers. We've done those 2 new ones. We'll do them first.
Me?
To refresh the eye. To refresh the memory, and then we'll do them later. If they're requested.
See that paper? I reckon I have a record companies on there.
That's a good magazine, then.
What's
Are they putting on
What are these music rules? What?
No, I'll do it myself. Come on.
Live.
Ah, jeez.
There's a lot of hours involved. I mean, the working man knocks up something like 40 odd hours a week, where I would do maybe 70 or 80. Again, it's a nice position to be in. I mean, there's a lot of bands only playing 2 nights a week, and they would like to be playing 5 nights a week.
You're going first to do stay all night. Well, then do 3 of your own choice after that. That's a total of 4, right? And then I'll come on for the next set with people.
What time is it now, Brad?
All right? That's
6 days.
12 minutes
Ready
to
there.
midnight.
Aye.
Okay.
As well as everything.
Right. Get Freddie there, Pat. That's it. That'll do. I'll have another.
Okay.
All right?
One set.
Yeah, whole set. Forward, Tony. Right. Okay, Freddie. Yes.
Like a bird that's lost its maiden flight, I'm alone and oh so blue tonight. Like a piece of driftwood on the sea. May you never be alone like me. I believe the lies you told to me. When you whisper, dear, I worship thee. I hear a mile alone and blue, all because I love no one but you. Hear it?
Yeah, I like to meet people, talk to people, and I find it easy to do. For instance, if I was to be in a band and was told that from I go on stage until I leave the ballroom that night that I wasn't to speak to anyone, well, regardless of what I might be getting, I couldn't stay in a band like that. The only problem I found after years at it, that I got to know too many people too well. And when you go play in a certain area, that they expect that half hour of your time after the dance, and they don't want you sort of moving around. They want to talk, shop. I found this a problem. But all in all, it's a big additive to be able to pass yourself either in a hotel or in the ballroom or on the street, or if it's only a kid or an old woman or whatever. If a guy can't say hello, he's not a good musician in my eyes. It's as simple as that.
We continue dancing this time with a quick step. We start off with a title track of an LP, our last Mountfine record, a number called Country Fine. I don't care who knows it, man, I'm country fine. I love the countryside like chicken country fried. But I couldn't be city slicker even if I tried. I love the country way of life.
I find that the trends come and go, but country music or something really stable with a really good lyric and a good melody will have longer lasting ability than a lot of the quickish synthetic stuff, which I think a lot of it's counterproductive. It doesn't bring any deep happiness or understanding. The noise level, I think, is the first thing that's against a lot of today's music. It's much, much too loud. For what reason, I've never got it logically explained to me. My kids come up to me often and say your band's not loud enough. I ask them why, and they don't give me any reason. They just want it louder.
Oh, I'm the kind of guy who likes to watch the river flow, see the green grass grow, feel the warm breeze blow. There's a little something that I thought you'd like to know. I love the country way of life. Oh, I don't care who knows it, man, I'm country pie. I love the countryside, like chicken country fried. And I couldn't be a city slicker even if I tried. I love the country way of life. Can't beat the country way of life. Thank you. That number came in very slick.
What time would you be needing to
How's it going there, lads?
Christy,
Mighty. Send you a tea.
Great, Chris.
only a tea. You get a cup yourself?
Oh, I got a cup now.
What about the beer, but?
Oh, do you want a few buckets? Oh, we get that.
A few plates of mine was there.
For the road home, for the...
I must get
But who's for the bottle?
Look at it.
Hands up, hands up.
Hands out now, or ale, or what do you drink?
Put up both hands.
Both.
He doesn't drink.
Still
You wouldn't drink whiskey at all, no,
Still
or
no. We don't touch
a
it.
drop of hoosh. A Mountain Dew, you wouldn't like that. Katie Daly stuff. To the bystander or to the patron that might come to a dance, it's you're up there, you're dressed, and your picture appears in the paper, or you're on a record sleeve or whatever, and they see it like it's glamorous, and there's a nice side to it, but it's not that great a life. I do something like 60,000 miles a year on the road, and it's really hard, especially winter months. When you go to play a couple of 100 miles, you try always to tie in a long run with another dance date. The more popular are, the more easy that is to do, and again, you have more surplus of money, and you can stay in better hotels and so on. And we are in a fair good position, and I've enjoyed a fair amount of that type of comfort. But there's been a lot of more years, lean years, when there was nothing, only a fish and chip or a bottle of Coke and a bag of crisps. Hard times.
What time is Walk Ray over at? Is it?
There's talk, Martin, that'll be fine as soon as the band finishes.
We get packed up pretty quick. We should be home at, what, 5 or 6?
The way I figured, Artie, if we start playing at 2, and we play the numbers very fast, finish early.
That'll be alright if we could get away with that.
So we can handle it. But Martin, no way they always keep you there, man. You're
I know,
beauty
but
sleep, why? You're beauty sleep.
It's a long drive. Like,
Well, right.
if it's like the other night, the frost the other night, it was like that there, I tell you what. We'll not be home till 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the morning.
Am I using the guitar? Artie, play something sensible. Go fill up with her baldy. You know what the...
Good ring, good ring.
Right, a good ring. Nice, Artie.
Must work on them every day, Artie. always put you off playing. Except for those two.
What time's the dance over here?
Half one.
Oh, 1:30. Good enough. The crowd comes in what? About
Fine supposed to us. 11 o'clock.
11
half,
after?
Between 11 and half 11.
11 and a half. Good enough. No
Wait,
problem.
What time do you start? Half 11?
We start at half, about 20 past. 20 past to 1:30. That should about do it.
Yeah.
Well, that's not so bad. Listen,
No.
check down as the lady putting on the kettle for the top of the
Yeah.
day, will you?
Right, so
Sorry, right.
I'll see this about the light so it doesn't do the water.
Lovely. That'll do. That'll do. Okay. Lovely.
So,
Okay. That'll do.
There is nothing that is wrong in wanting you to stay here with me. Know you've got somewhere to go. Won't you make yourself at home and stay with me? Don't you ever leave. Lay down, Sally, and rest here in my arms. Don't you think you found someone to talk to? Lay down, Sally, no need to leave so soon. I've been trying all night long just to talk to you.
Life doesn't change much in the dance hall. Basically, I find that again, around the rural areas, most people want to jive, or if you call it an old-time waltz. They'll try, even they're young folk. They might be dressed in today's so-called modern gear, but they'll still do an old-time waltz, whereas about some of the more built-up areas, the big cities, Belfast, Dublin, Cork, and places, they don't class jiving or waltzing, dancing at all. They're standing there and they do their thing. If they're happy at it, okay, good luck. But to me, they're not actually, as I often crack the joke, there's not many Fred Astaire's around now these days. Of course, the older the people, they still hold on to their period of thing when they were a teenager or whatever. People talk about change, but to me, it's gone full circle. That's right back to before square one, when you had the Ceilidh bands were big, and I find that it's coming back again, right back. When I started, anyway.
Lay down, Sally, and rest here in my arms. Don't you think you found someone to talk? Lay down, Sally, no need to leave so soon. I've been trying all night long just to talk to you.
I'd like to tell you a story as it was told to me. It's called The Legend of the Big River Train. Keep that eight-wheel driver rolling lonesome whistle whine, for it tells the world a story as it whistles through the pines. In the dead car lies a convict with a number for his name, and he's going home this morning on that old big river train. Well, they brought him to this prison 20 years ago this date. Changed his name into a number, then he became my prison mate. Somehow I knew he wasn't guilty from the very day he came. Yet they brought him to this prison on that old big river train.
This is more or less what country music is today. Songs are about home and about hard times, a lot of them. There's a story attached to a lot of the songs. Believe it or not, a lot of people like a very sad lyric, but most people are not very musical, but they can enjoy a basic melody and a simple lyric, and it relates to them. I think this is some of the reasons why it's very popular today.
Many times I've heard him tell me when he'd hear that whistle blow, that same old train that brought me here, pal, is gonna take me home, I know. I'll ride it back to my home country, and there I'll clear my honest name. Well, they shipped him back this morning on that old big river train. But he's gone to meet his maker in a land that's bright and new. Gone to claim a peace and freedom that heaven knows was overdue. Of a crime he wasn't guilty, just the victim of a frame. Yes, he came, and now he's leaving on that old big river train. Keep that eight-wheel driver rolling, let your lonesome whistle whine, for it tells the world a story as it whistles through the pines. In the death car lies a convict with a number for his name, and he's going home this morning on that old big river train.
I've been playing England now since 1962, and there's never a question of that we want you for a tour or we won't want you for a tour next year. And I'm very happy to say that we do steady business and good crowds.
Please.
Ballrooms in England are different in as much as they're bigger, and there's maybe 2 or 3 bars in one ballroom. In most dance halls in Ireland, there isn't a bar. There's big clubs more than dance halls, isn't there?
Not awesome. It was button wrong, yes? Oh.
What's that? That's stuck on there.
Short stuff.
What's your own? Sorry.
Short stuff like a smaller pot.
I wear a vest and I want it.
Just you're getting tighter.
You ever hear of a summit?
Yes, sir.
A summit? It's only a job. Well, here, what are we opening up with tonight?
Grandma's.
Usual. That's, no, that's number's no good. Silence. It'll be that number.
It's great. Tony, go on,
Silent night.
We'll do people and
You do a ballad tonight, Pat?
people looking back, and
I'll do White Christmas. I'll do White Christmas.
we'll do Haunted House.
People looking back. I'll do
Yeah.
this.
Lorraine! Quickly, because I see
Gotta put that on. You right, boys? Here we go.
One more counter to make before I go.
Right.
What's that, king size?
the white Missouri. To a ranch where white oak trees grow tall and slim. To a little hillside farm in Hopewell County. Let me see my childhood playground once again.
I like change and progress in a lot of fields, but in the music thing, if you change it too much, it's nothing anymore. It ceases to become what you've set out to do. I like some of the older songs and melodies and things, and they'll always be dear to me. And I find that a lot of people follow in my style of song. I mean, I'm asked for songs when I go to England, especially, that are recorded 14, 15 years ago. And if I didn't sing them and sang some even of my latest records, I haven't pleased certainly a big section of the people who would prefer me to sing some of the older songs. I must do them. It's compulsory. You're just shut down if you don't do them, you know.
Watching Daddy work the fields of new mown hay. So take me far across the white Missouri to a ranch where white oak trees grow tall and slim. To a little hillside farm in Hopewell County. Let me see my childhood playground once again.
I got the offer to go to Tennessee and live. There were a lot of dollars involved and go and live there, house supplied. That's all fact now. And I turned that down because I had made my own little mini Nashville was here. And the people that moved me from a bicycle to four wheels are here. So I was content with my lot. I mean, this thing of going on and making X number of pounds, if you were lucky enough to do that in America or whatever, for what? The money that I've made doesn't represent what effort I've put in over the years, but then a lot of it's been negligence on my part, really deliberate or self-inflicted abuse, just stupid, I suppose. I would have been a hell of a richer man, you know. But counting up to 10 and looking at my A-levels, which I haven't got, or my O-levels, I'm all right. I've got a few zeros in the bank with a few figures in front of them that are good enough O-levels.
It takes people like you to make people like me. It takes people like you to make people like me. Thank you.
Well, that's a tour of England. Oh, over, happy to say. That's a funny thing. You come over here and you haven't the same miles to travel as you do at home. But whereas London, Birmingham, Manchester, the cities, the congestion, you know, it's tiring, more tiring than at home. But it's very enjoyable playing England. Indeed it is. Only I've lost about, I'm down a half a stone at the minute as I stand. I went out there to get 10 Kentucky Fried Chickens, stoners, spuds, myself and Pat here and Martin. And we'll spend an hour demolishing that. And then we'll sleep for a week. 1 week.
Ooh, you know my rock's a little old, but that don't mean she's low. Here's a plane from a second, both going to and fro. Oh, well, they all home time since I oh, man, I really hear me tonight. 6 days on the road, it's really gonna make it up dinner. The 6 days on the road, it's really gonna make it up dinner. 6 days on the road, it's really gonna make it up dinner. All right.
Well, now the Northern Ireland news summary.